Thank you so much for tuning in to Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood. It's good. Everything on like Google's like, don't drink hops, but
really, I wonder why.
Yeah, well, they say the same thing about near beers. Don't drink those. Don't drink the non-alcoholic.
Really? Oh, I drink them all through pregnancy.
Yeah, I know people that do, and then some people are like, I'm just don't. But
I didn't drink anything alcoholic, but I definitely drank the zero beers. I
guess they're worried because like hops can help milk production, and then but if your milk production, but I don't feel like I'm there yet. I mean, I'm not there yet, but could cause like early labor,
preterm labor.
Preterm labor, and I'm not a doctor. Don't hold me to that. That's just what I read on Google. That was Dr. Google for you guys.
Dr. Google. Oh man. That's what we were talking about when you Google and the new AI comes up of like, and I was listening to a thing and they're like, you have to have some kind of knowledge to like, to read that, because if you take that for truth, like you can get into a lot of trouble because AI only knows what AI knows. So
yeah, and they just pull from different websites and kind of combined, I think. Different things, whether it's accurate or not, I have no clue. To be fair, actually I was asking a realtor I'm working with today, I was like, what do you know about the area? Because she's from Maryland, so I thought she would know. And she literally, it was the Google AI answer because it was the one I had read already.
What?
Yeah. And I mean, you could tell she had asked the question. She probably asked like, hey Siri, but then like copy paste.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
not helpful. Yeah.
Wow.
No, I do trust this lady. She sold our house in Maryland. We're looking back in Maryland.
Really?
Yeah. But more on the east side, so like east of Annapolis. We lived like south of Annapolis last time, but we live east to Annapolis. It would be a 2-hour drive to Ryan's work in Philadelphia or Mount Vernon. Philadelphia is actually closer than the job, but it's pretty remote, so you could work like go commute twice a week. So that's not terrible.
So why are you guys looking there?
Because PA doesn't feel like our home, and we were up there for a whole week, and just doesn't feel like it. Well, where we were was very bougie. I know I texted you and it was like, there's a Sprouts here, so automatically I can't afford to live in this town. Houses that are like under 3,000 square feet are like $1 million+ dollars. It's wild. So if we got to live anywhere, it'd be like central PA. But it's just, I don't know. We lived in Maryland before we moved to Montana. I didn't think I liked Maryland until we moved, but I like the Bay life, living on the Bay, close to it. So we're kind of trying to look for a house. We found a house. It's very old. It's from, I mean, not very old, but 1977. So kind of old. So I'm sure it needs work, and the bathroom and things need to be updated. And there's a lot, but it's on a whole acre, and it was like 3 streets away from, you could see the bay. And I missed that. Our old house, you could see the bay. So,
that's cool.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Are you guys prepared to make that decision already? Even though
well, we got pre-approved today, and so we know what we're like eligible for, and we talked about going up this weekend possibly, because we gotta get our own space back. We need our own space. We need to like set a routine. Like Weston and I are not in a good routine, and I was talking about routines are like important, especially when you stay home. And it's just like, and kids need predictability. And it's this like, I feel like I can't give that to him here because like, I don't even know what I'm going to do tomorrow because there's just like not a whole lot to do. So I'm ready to get back into some kind of routine.
There? Did you guys look into what's there?
Yeah, I mean, Annapolis, if you've been there, it's only 25 minutes from the area where we're looking.
Oh, okay.
And
so it's close.
Yeah. Okay. So there's lots. And then, so it's still kind of that small town feel and that like summer vibe because they got like dockside, like bars and restaurants. So
nice.
It's kind of how our old hometown was, like little fisherman town. But you could be in Annapolis in like 30 minutes. You could be in DC in like an hour and a half. Well, on
Wow.
paper, 45 minutes, but with
Yeah.
traffic,
Yeah, I
if
know
you're
about
being
that.
realistic. Yeah. And yeah, it was like 6 hours from my parents' house, 2 hours to Ryan's job.
Oh, so it's that far from your parents?
Yeah, but that's
Wow.
fine. That's how far.
Okay.
I mean, if we lived in PA, it'd be the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and if we lived in Phoenix, it would be a 6-hour flight.
Okay.
So,
6.
yeah.
Not quite 6, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So does that mean that, like, regardless of whether he stays where his skill bridge is, you guys would still move there and then find something else? Or
if we find something and we feel like, yeah, because if we're there, then he's able, there's so many like government jobs and contracting jobs in the area.
Nice.
The base that he used to work at, Andrews in Maryland, is only like 55 minutes from that location, which isn't like terrible. There's like Northrop Grumman outside of like the Baltimore airport, and that's only 40 minutes. So there's like a lot of opportunity if it didn't pan out. But he's hoping that this job pans out because he really likes it. They literally had a professional development the other day, and they were playing Mario Kart. So
that's my kind of job.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, and they're not so strict, and they're like literally, we clock out at 5. He's like, don't be sending texts or emails after 5, and I'm like, I like that.
That's awesome.
So I was really surprised when I came
really
back
nice.
Yeah, because when I came back from the grocery store, I'm like, can you help me with groceries? And I was for sure he was gonna like say he's still working or something, but he was already in his sweatpants and sweatshirt. This boy wore his like dress pants and button up and shoes, and he sat right here in the basement.
Oh my gosh.
He was like, I read in the handbook that it says that you need to dress like you would if you were going into the office at home. Dress with success, I guess. But he's a handbook by the book kind of guy. So
I was gonna say you couldn't do like the shirt on top where they could see and then do sweatpants.
No, that's what I said. But he was like, what if I have to stand up, or because people have done that before. They stand up and then it's like they're wearing shorts or their sweatpants or boxers underneath.
Yeah.
So that was funny.
Funny.
Yeah. But during this intern, he wants to travel up there some. So if we do move sooner than later, he's like, we don't need to rush, but I feel like I'm in a rush. So we'll see. I'm like, just ready.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to have stability too and like know where you're going to be, especially when there's a lot of unknowns in your life right now.
Right. A baby on the way. Like
a baby on the way.
To establish care at the hospital you're going to give birth at might be. Yeah. So we're like on 2 different levels. I'm like, you're stressed about like you want to be able to go in during this internship because he's going to have a better opportunity of getting a job if he's in the office here and there. And then I'm like, I want a home so I can just settle in and be prepared for another child and like also just get back into like some routine and just like how it is living with family. It's just it can be tough, challenging.
But because how long has it been now already that you've been there?
Here February 2nd. Yeah.
Oh, so almost a month.
Yeah.
Next week it'll be a month. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's wild. Wow. No, but it's been really good. But I will say, and this will tie into kind of what we're talking about today, like my pregnancy hormones, sometimes like it's hard for me to hold my tongue a little. And so I just kind of get a little snappy. And I don't mean to, but like tonight I made my mom upset because like it's with the stove, and the stove actually, it's one of those new ones that lock. You can lock it, so if you push a button, the oven doesn't start.
Yep.
But he started pushing buttons, and I'm trying to like start phrasing things like why we shouldn't do certain things or when we should do it. I don't know. Instead of like they get desensitized with no.
Yep.
But she was like no, and he went no. He like screamed it, and she's like, that's right. I said no. And I'm like, he didn't say no all the time. He wouldn't say no. That's what I said. And she went upstairs into her room and when I went to go tell her goodnight, I had to say it twice for her to look up. I'm like, and my dad's like, you need to apologize. And I'm like, no. Why? Because I don't know. So it's just hard because like I'm still learning as a parent, trying to learn how to correct, my child and trying to like learn and then but then it's hard. Like I also don't want to tell them how to be grandparents or parent, but it's kind of hard to
It's
set those
hard.
boundaries when I haven't even figured out those boundaries myself. So
I said that yesterday because we had a rough day yesterday with Hannah, and I was like, I just wish there was like a parenting expert that could sit here and correct me all day long. And Brandon was like, first of all, you wouldn't want that. But second of all, an expert parent doesn't exist. And I was like, I mean, in theory, there's an expert parent out there. I remember listening to, there's like a childhood therapist or whatever. And he's like, listen, I tell you guys all this stuff because I know what I'm supposed to do. And I know what we're supposed to do to develop good kids. I am by no means that dad. Like I try so hard and it's like, it just make me snap, that's just not how it goes. And I'm like, well, that makes me feel a little bit better. But even still, it's like, oh man, I said to Brandon last night, like I had so much guilt of how I parented yesterday. And I just like, I hate that feeling, but, and then on top of that, like you said, when you have doubts in your own brain and then you're trying to help your parents, and it's like, I don't even know if I'm doing the right thing and I'm telling my parents what to do.
Yeah,
so hard.
It's the same thing. So I guess I should apologize. Sorry, Mom, but you won't listen to this. So
yeah, I know. My mom asked me the other day. She's like, "Hey, I want to listen to your podcast." I'm like, it's okay. You don't have to do that, Mom. I've trashed you too many times. Oops.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just hard. Yeah, when you're trying to figure it out, and then tell other people to do it. So. But yeah, he's been wild. And I just feel like I was just thinking today, it's because the unpredictability and the not really in a good routine. And like we literally lived in a hotel for a week last week. So it's just, I'm tired.
Yeah, I bet. You're home with him all the time, That's what we were just talking about that too, is like, I've read a lot about like going on vacation and allowing them to do a lot of things that you don't typically do. We're going on vacation next week. And I'm like, it's tough because we'll be with Brandon's parents who believe in some different things than I do as far as parenting. And then, also like we're all going to be in one hotel room together. And that's just going to be chaos because both of my girls like will on and off wake up in the middle of the night and then they'll wake each other up, but it's just going to be tough. But you try to get back to your routine as fast as you can once you're able to. But yeah, like setting in a new routine isn't easy for kids either,
No.
So
no. I will say Weston slept better at the hotel in the pack and play. And that thing is, he's almost too big for it.
Yeah.
We did have to put him in and like then go hide in the bathroom for him to fall asleep because for some reason we can't get in bed, or he's like, no, I want in bed too. So we have to act like we're leaving, and then we come back in and he was fine. He slept so good. And I don't know what it was. Maybe his bed was more comfortable. I don't know. But here he's been waking up like 2:00 in the morning, 5:00 in the morning. And it's just like, I don't know what's going on. My house is haunted, probably. No, my parents' house, it's a little creepy. No, but I don't know what like keeps because he'll wake up like screaming my name, and that's not very like typical of him.
It's an unusual place.
Yeah.
Right. And sure. I don't know, are you in the same room as him or not?
Yeah.
At your house?
Yeah. At least the hotel room is a little bigger. We're like cramped in there. But then this morning I spent like 15 minutes trying to get him down. Ryan had already left to go to the gym. And then so I just pulled him into bed. He went right back to sleep, and I went back to sleep too for about 2 hours. And then I snuck out of bed, and then he was still sleeping. I had to go wake him up, and he woke up in such a good mood. I'm like, that never happens. It must be his bed. Maybe it's uncomfortable, but it's the same mattress he had.
I was going to say, can you try the pack and play?
Maybe. That thing is so small. We have like a crib size pack and play with a mattress in it, but maybe it likes compact. I don't know.
Hannah loved the pack and play. Still tries to get in it now, and she's way too tall for it. But it's comfortable for some reason.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So should I do the intro and we can jump into it?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back to Mom Jeans, the podcast. We're 10 minutes in, but hey, welcome.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here. I am Lisa. I am a mom to 2 girls, girl mom.
And I'm Danielle, a boy mom and a stay-at-home mom and pregnant.
Yay!
With another boy.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Boys. My cousin was listening and she goes, I just listened. She's behind on, she's like, did Danielle end up with twins? And I was like, no. She's like, oh, wow. I can't imagine having twins. I was like, yeah, no chance. I would not survive that.
Right.
That would be hard.
I know. My doctor's appointment's tomorrow, so hopefully they don't
new
find
doctor?
the other one.
Have you right? Have you been to this doctor yet?
No.
Okay.
It's just, and I don't even know who it is. I'm just like, just find me a doctor. Because I'm not going to plan on being here when I give birth, but you just never know. So
you don't know. You don't. Well, that's exciting. Have to let us know how it goes.
Will do.
So today we are going to talk about pregnancy hormones, because I certainly had them, and Danielle, I think, is experiencing some fun times with them. And I'd like to hear, what you got going with those right now.
Yeah, just like I don't even know. I guess the snappiness. I get a little moody, and so that's hard. And then I don't know, I've been crying a lot, not a whole lot. I wouldn't say I have to like be pushed over the edge. It's more it comes out in anger, and then like then when I'm like to my like last straw, I'm like crying. And for example, the other day, so Ryan and I were in the hotel, and he's really excited about this job, and I'm excited for him. But if you know me, I'm not like an overly excited person. Like I can be really excited for you, but I'm not that person who like shows like, oh my gosh, like I'm so excited for you. Like, you know how some people are really hyper, really outgoing. I'm just like, oh, that's awesome. Like, congratulations. And that's about it. And I hate that I'm that way. I wish I was way more outgoing. Like my mother-in-law, you've met her. She's just so bubbly.
Oh, yeah.
And just makes the smallest things that you do, like in her mom's the same way. Just the smallest things that you do is like amazing and like make you feel really good. And I wish I could like be that, but I'm not. So I think Ryan felt, because I was being quiet about everything. Just one, I'm just trying to let him figure out how he feels about this job in the area. And then I'm trying to figure it out too. And then also like Wes and I were driving around, like doing all sorts of stuff. So I was just like tired. Like I needed a break. We're all stuck in this hotel room together. And like, so it's just like, it wasn't anything personal, but he was just kind of already making a decision on how I felt about it. He's like, I just feel like I can't be excited and tell people like how excited I am, because I think that you don't like it and you don't want to be here. And I was like, I never said that. And then he's like, but you're not saying anything. I'm like, true. So I don't know. It was just like a whole thing. So it was like, I'm like, it's not even, and before I could explain, he was like, just tell me what's wrong. And he was like, and don't you dare say it's your hormones. And then I started crying so hard. And because I was like literally about to say that. And maybe I say it a lot to where he thinks I'm just like making an excuse. And which makes me sad, because like, we throw that out there a lot. Like if we're on our period or about to start our period, we're like, oh, it's my hormones. And we're like, we're pregnant, it's our hormones. Postpartum, it's our hormones. Like, and so sometimes when we say it so much, like I feel like, well, am I making an excuse? Like, or do I really feel this way? But as soon as he said it, I had one of those like ugly cry breakdown. Like, then when you look at somebody like that, oh yeah, it's probably their hormones. I'm like, I'm just so tired, and like I don't know. I was like, and I am happy for you, and it was just like a whole thing. And then he felt really bad, and then he gave me a hug, and then Weston was looking at me like, what is wrong with mom?
No.
But yeah, so I just like pushed me over the edge. But I will say before that, before we got back to the hotel, I like snapped, and then I said the F word, and I never say that. I was just like, if you would just F and listen. My husband and I don't really fight that much, so please don't like think that we do. It was just like, I felt angry and agitated and for like no reason at all. My hormones. So I just want to know, like, do other people feel this way? Like, you know, when we say it's our hormones too much, do people like stop believing us, like we cried wolf or something? Because that's kind of how I feel like, even though I normally have just kind of like steady emotions, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So, yeah.
I think it's an interesting thing, because I definitely will say that there were, especially when I was pregnant with Aubrey, my second, like I definitely took advantage of times where I was like, I'm just really tired. And it wasn't like I wasn't tired, but I certainly could have gotten up and done the thing, you know? So I do think there are times where I used it to my advantage, but I was like, this is the last time I'm going to be pregnant. Like I need to milk this, you know, same thing with like eating. I was like, you know, with Hannah, I kind of was in control, because I was like, I remember talking to people who ended up with, diabetes, what do they call it? Gestational diabetes, because they just ate like crazy. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. And then the second time I was like, well, this is the only time people aren't going to judge me for eating everything I want. So I'm just going to go to town, you know? But I definitely think the hormones were tough. Like I would go through roller coasters for sure with my hormones too. And I like looked up some things on Reddit, my favorite. I go to Reddit and I was like, pregnancy hormones, or it's like the craziest stories. And I was like laughing because it's so like, this girl's like, I cried because I put my prenatal gummy vitamins in the car so I would not forget to take them. And then they melted in the heat into one massive gummy vitamin. And for some reason, the whole thing was very disappointing to me. And now I could see the humor in it. But while it was happening, I was like, no. And I was like, And then like another one's like, I got mad because I had to share my Doritos with my husband after he told me he didn't want them, after I asked him if he wanted some, and he took them anyway. And I was like, oh yeah, like I get that. I didn't really have big pregnancy cravings per se, like nothing weird, you know, like I guess that's not true, because I, with Aubrey, wanted horseradish straight out of the jar. Like I just want, like, oh my gosh, just eat it. I just wanted to eat it all. Like I wanted to be crying and like draining nose, get it as harsh as you can. So I guess that is a kind of weird one, but it was never like that, the like go out and get my food right now or I'm going to lose it kind of person. Have you gotten that way?
Maybe once, and that was with Weston. I had like a potato craving. It could be like mashed potatoes or tater tots. Those were great. And we were going to go to this restaurant that had really good tater tots. And then Ryan's like, oh, well, I have to work. And he was like doing something. And I just started bawling. And he's like, why are you so upset? I'm like, I really wanted those tater tots. And now you're not going to take me. And I'm like, so he ended up taking me.
Oh,
yeah, but he still did have a lot of work. I don't know if it was schoolwork or like work, but he had some computer stuff to do, and I just really wanted tater tots. But
it's funny because I'm like hopeful that at some point, and granted I wasn't pregnant at all while we did this podcast, but like I'm hopeful to be able to go back and listen to things and be like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that we did that. Or that I felt that way or anything like that. Cause like I told you, I have that journal that I write, like a paragraph every night in of like what happened. But even like by the time I write in it at night, I forget what happened during the day. But I think it would have been so interesting to write down like that story and to be able to like recall that, because I feel like at some point I'm going to want to relive this time of our lives where the girls were so little and they were doing so many fun things, but also like when I freaked out about whatever, and now you look at them and they're like totally okay and all that kind of stuff, you know, it's crazy. Do you remember a lot? Do you think you remember a lot from your pregnancy with Weston?
Only because Ryan did like make notes, which is sad.
He did?
Because and he's not making notes this time. It's different. I don't know. It's sad. But yeah, he had made also, because I was just saying off the wall funny things. Like one day we were like eating dinner and he wasn't listening because he was looking at his phone. Like, and again, it was work. And that's why I'm excited about this new job, because we're like, after 5, no more work. But he he was like putting out fires or whatever. And I was like, he didn't answer me. And I was like, fine, I'm going to eat all your potatoes. Because I'd already ate all my potatoes and he had some left because he wasn't eating. Because he was like doing something on his phone. Yeah. And he heard that. He's like, oh, you're going to eat my potatoes. Or like this one, Ariana had brought cookies home and she said she was going to share the sugar cookie with me. And Ryan ended up eating it. They were laying there and he ate the sugar cookie. And I was really upset that I was like, you ate the sugar cookie. Ariana was going to share that with me. I was like, now I'm going to eat your peanut butter cookie. It's just like, it usually was about food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just say funny things. Oh, one day I was like, is that you breathing? or Zoe or something like that. He's like, why? I'm like, because it's annoying me. Like just random stuff. Yeah. And then for some reason the Super Bowl dog commercial that year, which was in 2022, made me bawl. And the thing is, nobody was watching it. They were getting up, getting like food, drinks, bathroom break. I was the only one in there and they come back in and I'm like losing it. I was really pregnant then because that was in February and I was doing March. And they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, the dog commercial. And then so Ryan later pulled it up because he's like, I got to see what commercial made you cry. And then I cried again. And there was a dog commercial this time. And I'm like, that's so sad. Oh, no, it wasn't a dog commercial. It was a kid. And he was like, I don't know if it was an insurance or whatever it was, but like, he just kind of looked at her and then all of a sudden it was like all the things like she just grew up, and just showing the different memories. And then it was back to her being a kid again. Like I got chills now just like talking about it. I'm like, oh my God, that's so sad. They grow up so fast. So yeah.
It's funny because we were watching Game of Thrones. Well, I don't remember if I was pregnant or Michelle was pregnant. One of the two, but we would watch it with Michelle and Ryan, and it was like, really far back times where pregnancies like led to a lot of death. And I was like,
oh yeah.
And the mom died giving birth. And I was like,
to Jon Snow.
This was a terrible idea to watch this because we just spiraled. Yeah. But yeah, it is amazing. Like the things that'll set you off and just, I agree with the hypersensitivity. Like I've always had a super sensitive nose, but my irritability towards sounds, and it hasn't gone away, unfortunately. So like when I would hear certain sounds, like to this day, and I've always had this, I cannot stand the sound of Velcro. It like literally makes me cringe and like my shoulders hunch up and I'm like, my ears feel like they're going to start bleeding. It's so terrible. And then in pregnancy, it was like, same thing. Like people breathing, people chewing. And I'm like, can you stop chewing? It's like, what? Like, how am I supposed to eat?
Right.
No, when I'm not here.
I know. But yeah, the snappiness too. It's like, I don't mean to.
Oh yeah. I know.
Yeah, it's just like I say what's on my mind, and it's like, then I'm thinking like, what? What I say? Oh, and then this like the pregnancy brain. Obviously, we were supposed to record yesterday, and I'm like, I don't know where I went, but like went to a different universe, and was like, oh yeah, we were supposed to record, but I was hurting yesterday. Like I felt really pregnant yesterday, and I'm about 15 weeks, and but I was like walking and I was like trying not to waddle. I'm like, well, this is way too early to like waddle. But like my incision was hurting. My hips were hurting. I was out of breath. I'm like, I just need to go lay down. And then I kind of laid there and was like dozing a little. And it's been a lot lately. Just, I don't know. And I look way more pregnant than I was with Weston.
I think normal. Everybody I've met. Yeah. Everybody I've met, the second pregnancy just shows a lot faster.
Yeah. And I was feeling like really like uncomfortable in my clothes. Like, man, I feel chubby. I was being like really hard on myself. And then I realized I just needed some like pregnancy jeans and just let it go. And then I felt better because I was just wearing my regular jeans that still fit because they were already big to begin with. But like they cut you off right at the belly button. And so it just makes you look pudgy. And so, got some pregnancy leggings. Pregnancy pants.
I was going to say, I held on to those for a long time because I really enjoyed them. Like I still have sweatshirts from Hannah's pregnancy that I would wear every once in a while. I'm like starting to weed them out of my, wardrobe. But yeah, like I had a pair of pregnancy jean shorts that I was obsessed with, that I loved them, and I finally parted with them because now, like, you know, they would go up over your bump, and now they're like up over my, like all the way to the top of my chest. I'm like, okay, this is probably like, I should probably draw the line here.
Right. After you're done breastfeeding, you just tuck those puppies in.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my gosh.
Or at least
I had a conversation with Susan today about that, Michaela's mom, because I was like, you know, it's always been a dream of mine to get a reduction. And I was like, oh, you know, in a lift too. And she's like, you know, in a lift, they move your nipple. And I was like, okay, I'm out on a lift. I don't need I don't need a lift.
Yeah. Didn't know.
Yeah. Just get like that tape that J-Lo had that just pulls them up to your shoulders.
Right.
You just need that. Right? Is that a thing?
Yeah, maybe. I know. Well, that's another like pregnancy thing. Well, because after I was done breastfeeding, I've talked about this before. I probably have talked about my boobs way too much than I normally would, but they were like real flat, like flat. There's nothing there. And it's now they're back, and Ryan's like, oh, hello. And I'm like, ugh, like it's just too much to deal with now. Like they're falling out of my bra again. And I'm like, man. So I did bring like my bigger bras because I'm like, I know I'm probably going to need it, but
yeah.
So now they're just going to get more stretched later. I'm like, this is great.
That's the craziest part. Like I was telling Susan today, I was like, you know, they've done, because she showed me like her scars of like surgeries and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know, they do amazing. My C-section scar is amazing. I'm surprised how well but it took a while to get to lessen its color. And I remember after Hannah, my stretch marks on my stomach slowly started getting lighter and lighter. And then of course I redid it when I went to Aubrey, and I'm like waiting for them to kind of decrease in color. But it's like, yeah, it's kind of amazing. I understand when people say I want my body back, but like with Hannah, I bounced back really well after pregnancy. Like I felt like, man, I got skinny faster than I thought I was going to. And now it's like, I just feel like, man, I can't get it back. But it's also like crazy to see how your body can bounce back after a pregnancy, especially if you're younger. I mean, you think about like, what if we had kids at young 20s, like what our bodies would look like, you know?
Right. Yeah.
That would have been amazing, but
we'd be
here we are.
Rocking it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's fine. It is what it is. Our bodies gave life, and that's amazing.
I still go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just random. It's like I was really good about like putting the belly butter and all the stuff on my stomach last time. Every single day. I have not done it. I'm like, I need to do it.
I did that with Hannah too.
I was so like on it, and now I don't have a time to even like think about myself like I did with Weston when I was pregnant with him.
Do you feel like getting to your almost 4 months? So did you feel like you got to 4 months faster? Like it feels like it's gone by faster than with Weston?
Yeah, I'm like, man, I'm 5 weeks away from being halfway there. Like,
it's crazy.
I don't even know. And then it just drug by with Weston because that's like all I had to think about. And now I'm still thinking about Weston. And so, this poor little dude, he's just gonna be like, he's just bumping along.
It's so different. It's amazing.
Yeah, I have felt the flutters a lot sooner than I did with Weston. And I will say I do remember being in a lot of pain with Weston in my hips and like right up here too, especially when I got really pregnant. But I think because like I was stretching, everything was stretching, and now that everything's already stretched, I think I'm feeling pretty good in that aspect. Just some days like yesterday, I'll just feel like it just feels heavy down there, if that makes sense. And but then today I felt like completely fine. It's just like your body saying, dude, slow down.
Yeah. It's so interesting to see like the different pains you get, you know, like I could hardly walk probably the last month and a half with Aubrey because my hips were in such bad shape. Like it just was where she was sitting, I guess, in comparison to Hannah. I had pain in the front, but when they did my C-section, they found that I tore a ligament, but I didn't know it until they opened me up. And I was like, yeah, like it's such an interesting thing to see how your body adjusts to so many things, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't envy that pain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Hormones are wild. Pregnancy's wild.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we could make like a whole section on Instagram, like a highlight of like all the stuff that happens during pregnancy. Like I said, I wish I remembered more. It's like amazing how, like they say, you know, I didn't have a vaginal birth, but if I did, like how they say you forget the pain and that's how you end up with more than one kid. And, you know, I know Michelle went through some big time trauma with Cece and having Cece. And then, you know, she said if she had Parker first, she still would have considered it probably not great, but comparatively it was much better than Cece was, you know?
Right.
So interesting.
And so I'm obviously like getting nervous I still got time, but like I try not to think about it too much because like what will happen. But it's just like, I don't want like similar things to happen. And how can I prevent that? But I can't prevent it because like, I don't know, can't control things. You can't control.
Are you planning on trying to have a VBAC where you can have a vaginal after?
I am.
If they let you?
Yes, if they let me. My doctor in Great Falls was going to let me, but she's like, I will tell you that you'll find doctors that will not let you. But she's like, I'll write my recommendation for you. And she did, but it's like,
wow.
She's like, it's going to be up to whoever your provider is.
Yeah.
So that's tough. But like, I mean, yeah, the only reason that they had to do a C-section is because they were worried about like the fetal like heartbeat, like Weston's heartbeat and distress and everything that was happening, and because he didn't drop, and so it's just like a lot of things. But
yeah, maybe your body knows how to do it better this time.
I hope so. I need to figure it out because like but then I'm also nervous, like because the same thing. It's like, well, I don't know. You don't know what you don't know, so I haven't like gave birth vaginally either. So it's just like that's a scary thought, like ripping or like just the pain or I don't know. So
it would be interesting to if you did end up, you know, it's always interesting. I haven't talked to anybody who has had both. Like most of the people that I've met have had just the one way, you know, have just had vaginal births or just have C-section births. So it's like I haven't really met anybody who to say one way or the other how it is. So it'd be interesting. It would be interesting to know that.
Yeah. We'll see. I might get there and be like, actually, you know, we should just have a C-section.
I will tell you, my scheduled C-section with Aubrey was like the craziest thing I've ever experienced comparatively to Hannah, you know, where they like just say, walk into the OR and lay down on the table and it will be done in a little bit, you know, and then sure enough, they were like, it's crazy. Like I guess I really blacked out Hannah's birth a lot. Like I did not remember a lot. And then Aubrey's, I remember everything. Like I remember them, like I can remember them feeling them pulling me and stretching me. Luckily, like I did not feel that with Han. Like I didn't remember that because I think I would have been a little bit like, ooh, I'm not ready for this. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. I do remember that. That was wild.
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
See.
Sorry, not to freak you out.
I know. I was just thinking about it. It's like, I really came to peace with it. I mean, I don't get so upset about it anymore. It just seems so far because I mean, Weston's going to be 2 like in a couple weeks. It's wild. So,
so crazy.
I just hope that the next one it'll go smoother. And just like obviously worried. I'm even worried about like getting the epidural because I know that's what made my blood pressure drop, which made his heart rate drop. So like there was an effect on that, and it's pretty common with people I've talked to. Like, oh, I had the same thing happen when I got my epidural.
Interesting.
Yeah. So scary. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's still far away. We're not halfway there yet, but
no, you don't need to think about it. No use in that.
Yeah. No.
I'm more interested to see like once the baby is born, like balancing Weston and the baby at the same time. It's going to be interesting. Like hopefully Ryan will have some time off.
Yeah. Well, that company, I mean, the military now gives you 3 months, which is nice. But the company, I mean, so with Weston, he was out of work for 3 months, which is nice.
Wow.
So any government job, the government did that, and then the military followed suit finally. So 3 months baby leave, and then the company that he works for, they do 30 days, which I still think it's a little better than 2 weeks.
So. Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. Brandon had 2 weeks and then took PTO, which just stinks when you want to travel all the time.
Right. Yeah. So like with this one, hopefully we can just have it broken up a little bit, maybe. Yeah. Like he's home and then maybe like his parents or his mom can come back out, or like my mom can come up. We'll see, just to kind of like help with Weston, really. Yeah. So
you can get on your feet and really moving and shaking.
Yeah. Because we'll see. I wonder if it's longer if you have a C-section, if they'll let you stay out longer. I wonder if that job, because I mean, usually, because even in the military, they'll give you, before they gave you 3 months, they would give you extra time if your spouse has a C-section, because it takes 8 weeks for recovery. So they would give you the 8 weeks.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. They're military owned, so hopefully they'll follow military rules. I don't know.
There you go.
We'll see.
Yeah. But, something to bridge across as you get there.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Nice. All right. Anything else?
I don't think so. Just like, let me know if these hormones, if you feel the same way. Like,
give us your best stories.
Yeah.
Of hormones and the craziest reaction and thing you had during your pregnancy, because I think those stories are fascinating and also really funny.
Yeah.
Also, cravings you had. Those always are entertaining to me, like pickles or, whatever.
Yeah. I don't think I've had anything crazy, except at the beginning I really wanted sushi, so I just did the California rolls. But yeah. Lately it's just what's been sweets. I don't normally eat sweets, and like lately I've been craving that. So I'm like, man, I'm gonna gain a lot more weight with this baby than I did Weston, because I'm less active right now, because I get tired easy.
I don't think you're as low active as you think because of chasing Weston around.
That's true.
Like when and like I would sit on the couch a lot when I was pregnant with Hannah, and then by the time I got to Aubrey, I was like, well, I can't sit here because Hannah's running around in circles and terrorizing, so I got to go chase her. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we'll see you next week on Mom Jeans, the podcast.
Bye.
Bye.
And that wraps up another episode of Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood. Thank you again so much for listening to us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider giving us 5 stars so other mothers out there like you can find us and listen. If you would like, you could follow us on any of our socials at Mom Jeans, the podcast. If you have questions, would like to send us your birth story, or give us suggestions or things that you would like to hear, please email us at hello@momjeansthepodcast.com. See you next week.